got to double dip in the Glendale Heights and Glen Ellyn library. So if one library didn't have a book I wanted, I could get it at the other. I could, let's see, lots of studying there for finals. That was always nice. And
you just love the grind, don't you?
I was just thinking about it today. Like, I wake up, I study all day long. I have meetings and I study. Like Reem and I, we've been married for 6 months. We went out to the city that we live in on a Friday night for the first time ever.
What?
Yeah, like on a Friday night, our friend was like, "Hey, I saw this cool ping pong bar." And so you go, you play ping pong and you order food, and we're like, "What?" We looked like tourists, like walking around at night. Like, what is this? Like, it's Chicago. We've been here our whole lives, but every night, like, we just study, and it sounds like it sucks, but honestly, at least for me, it doesn't suck that much. Like, I'm having a good time.
Why do you think you're having such a good time?
I love my wife. It's a big reason why we get along well. I live next to my close friends. My closest friends are next door.
Really?
So yeah, so like this morning I just went over, hung out with them for like an hour. When they come back, I'll probably go over there and study. I had a hamstring issue that finally resolved mostly, so I'm now able to run again. I've got fitness goals. Yeah, so I can hit those goals every day. Feels good to be moving. Like, I can see myself getting stronger at certain things. And yeah, dude, I got good food. There's lots of things that people are worrying about that I don't have to worry about. So all good. Like, people always say, college is the best time of your life. I think it definitely was the most social and the most it was in the most objective sense the most fun. But that doesn't mean everything else after it is not great. Like, I still had an amazing time my gap year, great time my first year of medical school. I'm still having fun. Maybe I'm not as fast as I want to be. Maybe I'm not working out the way I want to be, or I'm not seeing everyone how I want, but it's still a good time. Two weeks ago, I got together with all my friends from college, watched a basketball game at their place. Last week, got dinner with my friends who all came back from winter break. We're still good friends. We still text. Honestly, med school is fun. I'm having a good time.
And do you think you're having a good time because it's meds, like you love what you're studying, you like what you're doing, or do you just like being able to progress at something over such a long period of time and kind of get better at it? Or do you just like being stuck in the grind? And that's a thing, you've probably felt it with running, where it's just
you felt it probably more than me, like the grind of just every day.
It's fulfilling. It's fulfilling as fuck, bro.
It definitely is, because there's never this, oh, what should I be doing? There is an answer. I need to correctly identify the 5 different types of shock, because if I don't know the 5 different types of shock, I'm going to screw somebody up and they're going to die. Or I need to know what this medication does, because if I don't know what this medication does, I'm going to miss a key side effect that they could be complaining about. So it's thrilling. I know medicine's weirdly corporatized, and lots of people regret being doctors. Dude, if you go on Reddit, the medicine Reddit, my wife doesn't like when I go on that subreddit, because everyone just hates their life. Every single one, they're like, I wish I was never a doctor. Because you at every level of training, there's BS. So if you're right out of med school, you're in residency, you don't make doctor money. You make $50K if you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
But you work anywhere between 60 and 100 hours a week. So you're technically making less than minimum wage. They're dude, so these guys and girls haven't slept, haven't ate, haven't done anything. They're like, I wish I did anything else. I wish I did computer science. I could have been a tech bro making six figures in Seattle. But like, you know, I kind of knew what this was going to be when I went in. But
So
you're catching me at a good time. If you caught me at a
yeah,
bad time, I'd be like, dang, Kalen, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
like, oh God, let's go to the Grand Canyon and run to the other side.
That'll happen one day. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I think this is a more mile year than a marathon year in
Oh,
terms
so
of like
we're
time
like,
commitment.
oh wow. Oh, so it's more of the training aspect.
Oh yeah, dude. Because the time needed to like spend on my feet to be and also like to like get the leg strength to do that. I'm definitely not there.
Do you find that what you're learning at med school is overlapping to running training or train fitness?
I mean, some things, um, but it's also like you learn the reason why behind some of the common sense stuff. Like, why does alcohol make you fat? And why does alcohol make you slow? It's because um, if you try to go for a long run, alcohol creates this like they call it a coenzyme, right? So it creates this thing called NADH. And as your body like tries to process your alcohol, you create NADH. NADH reverses the way your body uses energy. So it shuts off the main pathway for using energy. And so if you try to go running, you're running without your main engine. If you're
What
trying to
is
run
the
after
main engine?
alcohol, it's called the citric acid cycle, the Krebs cycle. You probably
Okay.
yeah
Yeah,
that
biology.
that's like one we had learned about. But alcohol stops it and almost reverses it, and so that makes sense. Like there was this interesting thing, like if you if you're like a runner and like you're what's your resting heart rate? Do you know?
I mean, when I was fit, it was like upper 30s, and then now it's
Jeez,
probably like 50,
I mean
45.
when you sleep, your heart rate drops a little bit, and that can like kind of suffocate you in your sleep. Not
Suffocate you.
not like actually like you're gonna die, but it could cause some like dizziness, or it can um you can wake up feeling a little weird because your
Because
resting heart
you're
rate is,
because it's too low.
and then it goes even lower when you sleep.
Mm. I always noticed it on my watch though, like when I would wear the watch to bed, that my resting heart rate wouldn't come during the middle of the night, which I thought was weird. It would always be like right before I went to sleep. Like I thought like 4 in the morning, dude, I'm gonna be almost dead, you know? But
Well, like in my workout today, it said my heart rate was going at like 98. I did the whole put this here for 15 seconds, count it. I was like, I'm at 130. Like my watch doesn't
oh,
know
it's just
jack.
so bad. Damn.
I mean, it's a Garmin 235, so I, when it tells me my heart rate is high, I believe it. If it's
Yeah.
low, I'm like, this watch is stupid. Doesn't know anything.
Dude, some people have like that weird relationship. Like I know, um, like I've been around people who like just went for a long run and then they sit down and they're like, oh, and it's like, you need to get active, stand up. And they're like, you fucking bitch. Start throwing it. And you're like, geez, what is going on, man?
Yeah, what the heck? Like there was this girl I used to do workouts with. Dude, she her watch, I loved it because my watch would be like, yeah, we do like a 3 minute interval. My watch would say like we did like 0.47. Her watch would say zero point 0.5. And I was like, yeah, Emma, I think your watch is accurate.
Yeah, man.
You
I
know?
used what?
Yeah, just go with whatever makes you happy, I guess.
Okay, I thought I would start off with the story of how we first met. I don't know if you even know this. It
Oh,
might have
I
been
remember.
insignificant.
I remember the first time I saw you. Group one we hit the prairie path. I think you were waiting for us there. Tell me if you don't remember this. I feel like you were waiting for us there. Um, right, like after the underpass, and then like everyone seemed to already know who you were, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" And
Okay,
then that's what I
this
think.
is how I remember it. Okay.
Okay.
So it was like dusk on like a summer day, and this was our first night run. And so we were like meeting at 8:30 or whatever. And of course I miss it. And so I try to meet you guys on the prairie path, which we run on. And so I make it out like 2 miles. And I'm like, oh man, I must have missed him or something. And all of a sudden I just start to feel like the hooves on the pavement kind of thing. And then I just hear like some hooligans laughing. And I'm like, whoa, this is kind of cool. Cause like when you're running at night, it's a different feeling, man. And
Especially
like you
there,
feel
like,
so fast with the trees going past. And so
yeah, for real.
I went up and like I saw him and I turned with the group and started to feel the energy, and we were like floating around, and I wouldn't dare go in the front row because I'd get shit on like a motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
They threatened to bush me or like make fun of my pitchy voice, because I was just a freshman and you guys are all
God
seniors.
forbid you were born late. Yeah.
And then I turned around and then I saw some kid kind of on the back of the pack, just kind of hanging on, just in a bright reflective vest. And I was like, dweeb.
Dude, I like that story better. My team in college, they would hate on me for wearing a reflective vest. They said the exact same thing. They're like, dude, you're so freaking. It's so like, it's ugly. And I had one for myself, and I was like, I'll be the men's team reflective vest. And I was like, all right, women, who wants to wear this other reflective vest? And no one would take it, would you believe it or not? And then, dude, the worst part, because like we would start our runs at like 4:15. By 4:30, it's pitch black.
Yeah.
So one time, we're doing like a 5 mile run. I get like the car was stopped and it accelerated into me
Oh man,
while
dude.
I was wearing the reflective vest. And dude, everyone was like, see, it doesn't work.
It just
Like,
attracted him like a bug.
yeah, dude, everyone's like, no, like you're the only one that got hit.
One
Dude,
time it was Peanut and Mike Leaderhouse.
uh-huh.
So
Oh,
they're both guys from the past of our cross country team. And Peanut's kind of like an average runner, but Mike Leaderhouse is like one of
bro,
the
are you trying
greatest
to
runners.
mansplain Peanut and Mike Leaderhouse to me?
No, to the audience, because they don't
Oh,
know
to
who
the
they
audience.
are.
I was like, bro, I know Mike.
And so Mike is like a really legit sub 4 miler kind of runner. And so we're going along, and then we're on Pennsylvania, which is like a kind of busy road. We're running along the side, and then it's like one of those parking lot situations, and you're going along the side, and
Mm-hmm.
they're pulling out, and they just don't look, and the lady like bumps Mike a little bit, and Peanut loses his god. Do you know who this is? This is my fucking looter house, man. Get the fuck. And he just starts cussing her out, and she's like 75 and she doesn't know what's going on.
Dang.
Peanut he has a switch.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, it's his boy.
Protective. I mean, don't want to do that. But if I do remember right, I think the reason I never met you before until that night, the night of the night run, I think it was Ramadan, and you were
Probably,
only
yeah.
running at night. So like what?
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
like what? I've never quite known like what exactly is the story behind Ramadan and the obligation that you have to go through during it.
Yeah. So how the story goes is like, so like Muslims, we believe in the Quran, and uh how we see it as revealed, it was like revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad, like during the month of Ramadan, like that's when it started. So that's the significance of the month, is that like it's a month of the Quran. And I think like when I was young, I'd always think of like, oh, it's like a month where we don't eat to like feel about it, like poor people. Like, I could not eat for 12 hours. I'm not going to feel like what a poor person feels. So like the significance is like the Quran and like getting like thinking about God all the time. And the way you do that is by abstaining or like removing yourself from something that like it's kind of arbitrary, right? Like, like food and drink is like necessary, we need it. But in an act of faith, you're like, I'm gonna give this up just because I was told to. And then it's not like, if you're and the exceptions are like if you're pregnant, if you're sick, if you're old, if you're, you know, some people would say like if you have like a condition that requires you to take medicine. Um,
Oh, you're not
People
even
just
allowed to
don't.
drink medicine or take medicine
Well, I think if you need the
if
medicine,
you
then you get
need
the
it.
exception.
But like you take
But
a
like
vitamin C supplement, you're just gummy bear Costco vitamins, just
at night, you do that, I guess.
okay, only at night.
Yeah. So I I remember like the reason why like did cross country through it was because I played football. My my reason for playing football, I had zero love for the sport. All I wanted to do was be popular. But we had practices like it was like 3 hour, 6 hour practices, 2 a days. It was like a full time thing, and so 4 days a week. I was like, okay, I can't miss it. So I would just do everything they did and just not eat or drink and then just crash and burn when I would come home. And it's
You
easier when you're like,
you did 6 hour football practice without eating or drinking the whole day.
I mean, it's easier when you're suck at football, but yeah, like, you know,
Oh my god. And then you get back and it's like 3 o'clock and then you have to just not eat till 9 or something.
kind of, yeah. I would pass out and go to sleep right away. Um, but yeah, it's like, mental toughness and like, knowing that you can in fact do anything. So,
Mm. Has it affected like social or like family life in any way? Like having to take
mhm.
an entire month where you're kind of living a nocturnal life in some ways, but having to live in a diurnal world.
um, the nocturnal life we live isn't like that dramatic. Um, because some people like they just live their daily life without eating or drinking. It was probably harder when I was like, a teenager and eating like high high metabolism.
Mm,
But mm, I don't think it was like that big of a strain on relationships. Like there was a few times where I'd have to be like, okay, I can't go out, or like I can't do this right now. But it seemed like a big deal in eighth grade. But looking back now, like, who cares about eighth grade? But I'm just grateful. I'm just so grateful that I was, I lost like some base training, with the boys. But
mm.
if you're a practicing Muslim runner now, like you're missing out on all of April. That's championship season. That's the time you're hitting hard workouts. So those people younger than me probably have like a tougher time, deciding how to manage that.
Do most people like if you're even close to an elite athlete, do they decide to forego it for their sport, or is that like frowned upon, or how is
Definitely
that?
frowned upon. There's two things that come to mind. This is East African like descendant kid from Wisconsin. He doubled the 926 423 while fasting. Uh, yeah, I mean, also like it wasn't because he was fasting; it's because he's insanely talented. And then
Yeah.
there was a friend of mine, like a really close friend of mine, who he did hurdles at Batavia. He was like a 110 300 guy, and he had this exact question. So he's younger than me. So his sectional meet was like the third day of Ramadan or something. And so this dude is like, man, I could make it this state. Like, I literally am ranked in the state. I have a legitimate shot, but I'm fasting. So he goes to like this mentor of his and he's like, hey, this is really important to me. I don't have any exception. I'm not sick. Traveling is one of the exceptions. He's like, this is a home meet, but I really want to do well in this. And then what the mentor said was like, listen, like your main goal here right now is that you want to do well in this meet, and like you're obviously a pretty faithful guy. So you, no matter what, you're going to be on that starting line, like having a little prayer, like praying to God. So do you really want to be praying to God right after you like kind of, you know, broke the rules for your own selfish thing? Or do you want to be on the starting line knowing that you've done everything right by him? And so he decided, like, all right, screw it, I'm gonna fast. I'm like try to do things right. And he ended up he didn't make state, but he PR'd in both events, which at a sectional meet your senior year, that's kind of all you can ask for. So obviously I was never good enough to get a sectional meet, but I like to imagine I would do the same.
Oh man. I guess one other thing with your faith is I remember a conversation, I don't know, we're on some bike ride or something, but you told me once nonchalantly, because we were just talking and you said that you had to wake up before the sun every day to pray. And you said it's part of your faith. And I was like, every day? And you're like, yeah. And I was like, so you've woken up every day before the sun to pray? And you're like, yeah, for as long as I can remember. And I was like, oh my God, what the heck? And I went silent. And then you said, well, last week I woke up to pray and then I fell asleep on the floor. So technically I missed it, but yeah. And you just kind of went like that and you laughed it off.
Dang it. How did I fall asleep on the floor? Man,
You just
I got some questions for my old self.
you just said you just kind of like, yeah, I just got up and just went down. But what I think from that is like, how are you so ingrained to do something to where it becomes part of your life, and then you kind of fuck up in a way and like break that streak, but then it
Mhm.
doesn't get you down, doesn't bog you down, and then you get up the next morning and just do it again. Like, how does
Yeah, I
that
mean,
start?
so the way the habit starts, like, credit to my parents. Like, my dad made it a pretty big deal. Like, my dad also never missed it. So he would wake us up when we were around 10. It's like, get up, we pray, and you can go back to sleep, right? And then he wouldn't let us stay up super late just because we might oversleep that morning prayer. So like having a friend over for a sleepover, like, wasn't that fun. But so like credit to him for like putting that in us. But I'm just lucky that I wake up to an alarm really well. Most Muslims like have a really tough time with this. Like it's as hard
Really?
as you imagine it to be. Like most people, like they do not get up to the alarm. They're exhausted. I just am a morning person. I can get up and go, and like I'm just lucky in that sense. And then when you mess up, what's up? Oh, one sec. My wife needs her headphones. And when I mess up, you're not praying just for the sake of praying, right? You're praying to like a God that you believe in. And if you mess up, luckily, if you know that it's truly a mess up, you know that's not held against you.
Mm.
So, I mean, and even if you did legit just skip it because you were tired or you didn't care, if you feel bad about it, then it's still not held against you. So I never like beat myself up about it because I'm always, if I feel bad, then that itself is proof that I'm forgiven.
Mm. Do you feel that the act of like there being your God and faith and whatnot is that compared to the actual act of like getting up in the morning at 5 in the morning and you pray 5 times a day, right? And it's basically like a meditation. And is one part of it kind of more important at this point in your life? Do you feel like it's really is the faith, or is it just the act that you're building this like really good moral routine by getting these teachings from the Quran and everything like that?
Um, I think at this point in life, like where I don't have like that much formal religious education, I think I still do a good job with the rituals, but I need to like stay strong with the like spiritual aspect of it. Because if all I have are the rituals, then the rituals are incomplete. And if all of I have are the spiritual side, then I'm neglecting the rituals. So I think I've always been really strong in the rituals, but I'm getting like so caught up in like I said, school and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do a better job of like reconnecting it with the spiritual. And I think that'll come with like just slowing down a little bit, like pausing, thinking about stuff, and then um but yeah, like your faith changes from like different points in your life. And people always talk about that. And I'm just at a new point in my life than when I was in high school and college.
So one of my favorite things about you is when I call you like every 2 to 3 months because something weird is happening with my body and I need you to tell me what's going on. Like I got COVID last January and I was like, Muneeb, I can't smell the nutritional yeast yet. What is going on? And you like, calm down, man. Or like I cut my head open and I was supposed to get the staples out in like 5 days and it'd been like 4 weeks. Am I the only one that does this, or is like everyone in your life just kind of like, yo, what's wrong with me here? What's wrong with me there?
Um, yeah, my in-laws, because in my family, like I'm not the only like medical student or physician, so they'll ask the actual doctors. But my in-laws, like my mother-in-law, she had like episodic dizziness,
Ooh.
and the most common reason of like episodic dizziness is like there's little stones inside your ear canals that get dislodged, and there's a way to put them back in. So it's like this weird yoga thing. You like bend your head, hold it for 30 seconds, then you move it back and hold it for 30 seconds. And you like turn over, hold it. And so I was like, listen, if you go to the doctor and say I have dizziness, they're going to tell you. I was shadowing a doctor. This is exactly what happened. Guy came in and said, hey, I'm dizzy. This poor guy was probably in the waiting room. They printed out a piece of paper and they're like, go home and do this, see how it feels. Come back if it doesn't. So I was like, listen, just try this, see if it works. If it doesn't, then you can tell them I already tried that. It worked. So we put the stones back in her ear basically, and now she's fine.
Okay, speaking of, so this morning, um, this morning I had to wrap my dick with a very warm towel because I had icicle dick. Do you know what icicle dick is? I don't know
Where
if
were
I've
you
coined
sleeping?
this. Well, okay. It wasn't when I was sleeping. So I ran. So I was running. And then
Oh yeah.
I elected for sweatpants over tights. And for whatever
Mhm.
reason, it didn't go well. I get like a mile and I'm like, oh God, this is bad. And then I get like 2 miles in, I'm starting to like look around, like there's like a weird sidewalk sock and I'm like thinking about it because like I don't want to,
Mhm.
you don't
Mhm.
want to lose your feeling in your dick forever. That would just
Oh,
not.
that's happened. That's happened.
That's happened because I was coming off of frostbite on my toes because
Mhm.
I walked in the snow without shoes on and then I got a little bit of frostbite and I was like, dude, if I get that on my dick, that's like not one you want to live with, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Luckily, I got the hat. I had a hat on, realized it, didn't even realize I was wearing it. And then I just kind of like, and kind of like went for like a castration loop, just kind of like
Yeah,
suckled it in. And I made it home, but I just had to like this for like 30 minutes. And then I think I'm
I
back.
I have been there, and it's a low point. It's a really low point. But you ever think about why is our testicles one of the few organs that's
Is
outside
the
our body?
tip. Oh, why is it the few? I don't know.
Because sperm maturation happens at like cold temperatures. So our body's like
Really?
37. So our body's like 37 degrees Celsius, and sperm I think matures at 34 degrees Celsius. So they keep it outside your. That's why your balls sweat so much because they need to lose all that heat in when you're running in the heat. Because if it gets too hot, your sperm will die or not mature. I'm not sure which one. So now if it gets too cold, your body's like, this is way below 34. We need to bring our testicles back up into our body. And so it shrinks, right? Everything shrinks, everything goes back. And, there's not blood flowing to your penis because blood is flowing to your vital organs to keep them warm. And, your penis kind of gets left to dry, out to dry. So you
Is
did the
there
right thing. I mean, heating it up again.
is there a reason why we like evolved to make sperm at 34 degrees,
Um,
or is it
I
just
think
kind of?
it's not. I think it went the other way around. That sperm is made at 34 degrees, and if we wanted to continue, we would have had to, find a way to keep it at 34. Like,
Interesting.
yeah.
One of the
I'm thinking about the way that sperm is made. I don't know what's so special about it being 34 degrees.
Is that happen in any other part of the body for anything else?
Let's see. I mean, like shivering. Like there's so many
It
different ways that
is
we
your
try and
no,
keep
but like,
heat.
is your entire body, like the inside of it, is it all the same temperature, or is like the this part is hotter than this part is hotter than, or is it just kind of, does everything have to stay at the same?
I mean, your core is main. I mean, nothing's like exactly the same, but I mean, think about what gets cold first. The tips of your fingers get cold first because they're receiving the last bit of blood before it does the U-turn and comes back to the heart.
Mm.
Um, so like your extremities are way not way, but like relatively colder than your core, especially if you're out in the cold.
One thing I've noticed with you is I feel like you live like a bunch of different lives, like socially, like where you have like 30 random brown friends that I just have no idea who they were until we were at your wedding. And then you got your college dudes, and then you have like your wife and your family and stuff. And then you have like the scraggly hometown cross country boys. And it was
My
just
boys.
not exactly, that's exactly the point.
Yeah.
I saw it at the wedding, and it was so interesting because I thought we were kind of gonna be like overlooked because we were like the four gringos or whatever at this not white wedding, you know?
You guys are definitely halfway, but you guys are definitely the four gringos.
Yeah, yeah. But I just thought we'd be overlooked. But then I don't know, I just saw you every time you come up to us, you were so happy, and I felt so loved, and like you wanted us there. And it was just like, it was such a cool experience. And it just made me think like high school cross country just lives forever, man. Like it's just like a
Yeah.
different kind of bond. And I was just like, what is one of your most memorable high school cross country stories?
Dang. Um, dang, there's so many. There's like happy stories. Um, I guess I really liked being a senior on the team because I and I think the best thing that happened to me in cross country was like me having like a nervous breakdown senior year and then you kind of like setting things straight.
Oh my
And then
God, I
because he
remember
did
that.
that, like I was able to like straighten out my life, like not stress about things. And I think that's one of the big parts that took me so far in life so far. Like I was I don't know why I was like so stressed. We had like a 4 mile tempo and then four hundreds. Uh I was I remember the first couple miles were okay, but the last two, it was a mix of like stress and also like I just wasn't fit enough to be going the pace I was going. Um, uh, and then I came back and I was just like kind of panic breathing. And then you just kind of took me for a walk and he told me about like, when his dad passed, nothing seemed like all this work and school stuff wasn't important. And so since then, I've been able to like
Mm,
prioritize relationships that you experienced at the wedding and
mhm.
yeah, I'm grateful for him for that. Breaking I didn't break five in high school, but like watching watching Paul and Eric Newman outkick the two
Oh,
York guys.
dude. Oh wow, I
Oh, that
forgot about
was
that.
I don't think I'll ever be as hype a sporting event ever
I
because it was or when Chris and Newman outkicked at sectionals. Just like
oh,
anytime our guys beat the York dudes, we were celebrating.
you want to give us the play-by-play of the Paul and the Newman one?
Dude, those York guys, I mean, it was between those four. I think there was another guy in the mix, but they went out hard. Um, and I think like their PRs were like 9:30, like 9:20. Like they were very fast guys. Um, and like Eric and Paul, sorry, yeah, Eric and Paul, like I think maybe about like 800 to go. It was a pretty sizable gap, but they weren't like totally out of it. But you knew like they really had to like pull out something crazy. And then with 400 to go, it might have been like a 15-10 meter gap. And then they just jets. And the York guys had nothing. And then they got him in the last 51 too. We were going crazy. It was wild. It was at York too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it
Amazing.
was. Do you remember
Yeah.
like I just remember the last 250 meters just like it's like a movie in my mind. And
Yeah.
Newman was with the lead two York guys. Do you remember Paul dropped back and you're like he's done because top two make it to state. And
Yeah.
Paul drops back. He was down 10 meters with 200 to go, and you're like, he's done. He's done. And then like you get to 150 to go, and he's like 13 meters behind or whatever. And Newman is starting to like pick, and one of the York guys is falling off, but it's Newman and the other York guy. And then all of a sudden, Eric Newman takes off. But wait, Paul Christian from all the way back and clips Eric at the line.
Yeah. Dude, Paul was
An
he
animal.
was a fiend. He was a competitor. That kind of like drive, you can't teach anyone that. Amazing dude.
What do you think he gets it from?
Where do you think it gets from? I mean, some people just
Sinham.
it's just who he is. I mean, he goes hard in everything, right? I saw his Snapchat story. He got his corned beef and hash.
I
Man of the
remember
people.
I remember I think he run or he when he did run competitively, he ran out of like anger, like I'm gonna fuck these guys up kind of. It was like, and then I remember the last race, Jake was kind of replaying it because I think he was in the race and the anger just ran out and he just bit it and on his last race like his whole career kind of like led up to this point, and then eventually he was just like I don't have anything left to give, and it just kind
Mhm.
of it wasn't there. And I think it kind of comes to the point where like if you really are going to do anything at anything, I mean let alone running, like you have to love it, and you have to love is always going to win over anger eventually. Anger is only temporary. It's like leading by fear. Eventually people are going to just the kind of revolt in a way or whatnot. But I think Paul
Yeah.
just like had his point where it's like I just don't like this anymore, and it was then his motive. It was like Zuko, dude. It's like when Zuko switches over and has to
Yeah.
find it. He just had that in the middle of a race, and it just wasn't.
Was this in like college cross country?
College track, I think. I
College
think
track.
Jake
Oh
and him
dang.
were in the same race
Hmm.
on the track, and it was just like the end, and he just like was like, "Come on, Paul," and then just.
I'll be honest, when you were talking about that, I would have rather, I would love to have experienced like one race of just straight anger,
Really?
than like I would run kind of scared, like I would overanalyze the plan and stuff, because I feel like that's freeing. Like there is, like you get to feel every emotion that's inside of you. Maybe I just feel like that because it's different than what I experienced, but
Interesting. What
grass
is
is
your
always greener on the
mindset
other
going
side.
through when you go through a race? Like, what would you be? Where would you be?
I mean, it's honestly pretty technical. Like I'm doing the math in my head. Like I'm assessing, like position, assessing like stride. I'm assessing like how I'm feeling, like kind of checking all the systems. And I don't think that's the best way to race. I think that's why I really enjoyed the trail race that we did at Gun Lake,
Mm,
because like like what the heck does
and
any
you
of that
made fun of me
matter?
for like a week. You called
Why
me
did
a
I make fun of?
loser
Why
because
would it?
you won your age group or something. So then you went around to every single person we saw for the rest of the weekend and said I was a loser and you were the winner.
Oh, well, I mean, objectively, I was a winner, which means you were the loser. So, yeah, it's kind of true. Uh, but yeah, that's why it was a fun race. Like I could analyze all I wanted. I would be wrong every time.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
dude, I don't think I even had GPS. Like it was such a. I think the gun went like I couldn't catch GPS at the start of the race, so like I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah, dude, I still have some of the footage. I
Yeah,
could
I
I,
was.
I could send it to you. It was pretty fun. Like you guys started warming up like 6 minutes before the gun went off. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You just
What
kind of
was?
like,
Why were we dragging so long? We're pooping.
I think we just got there or something. No,
Oh.
what was it? I think Jake just didn't. Jake was just leading it, and he was like, "I'm gonna be chill in this one," because I
Yeah.
think like he does that sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, let's take it back to freshman year of high school for me, your senior year.
Yeah.
So there's something I've always wondered. You remember starting the rumor that you're going to be having an arranged marriage after you graduated? Do you remember
Did
that?
I start that? Did I start
I
that?
thought, well, I was added to a Facebook group,
Oh,
and then
that.
you started really pressing it, and I was like, I'm ready to go. I'm trying to pick out what I'm gonna wear. Oh, this is gonna be cool. And then the last
That
day
was
of
a.
school,
That was an authentic Marty Moats production.
oh yeah,
Like we were just having lunch in Circle Drive, as we do, and then Marty was like, "Dude, when are you gonna get married?" And I was like, "Dude, not even my family asks me that." And then we just like, "All right, screw it. Let's make this stupid Facebook group, add it in." It was pretty self-centered, but it was just like fun to mess
it was
around and
pretty good. It was
like
pretty good.
like talk about like different failed relationships as the years went on. And then all of a sudden, once things were working out, I was like, "Oh, this is pretty serious." Um, Probably doesn't need its own Facebook group with people I haven't talked to in 5 or 6 years.
Wait, oh, so it's continued.
It it continued maybe up until a year and a half ago, and then I deleted my Facebook
Mm,
um
yeah.
because of distractions. So yeah.
So now you've been 6 months with the wife, right?
Yes, I
And
have.
living together. How is how is adjusting to living with your partner, your spouse after, I mean, you haven't done that before. Was there any
Yeah.
kind of turmoil or like stuff you guys had to figure out?
We figured out chores pretty quickly. We figured out oof, trying to think. It's honestly been really easy. Like
Yeah.
I'm like fighting to find something that I mean there's been like small like not arguments, but like things that I do that I I'm not a single dude who can just go hang out at his friends all night long anymore. Like,
Mm,
and also I let's see. I mean, we're both pretty messy. I'm not gonna lie. Like our house isn't the cleanest, so that was pretty convenient. But yeah, nothing's really been like a strike. This hasn't been like my world is turned upside down.
sure.
I feel like moving into college was like a bigger shock.
It is
So
cool that you're still like half living the college life with your bros next door.
it is
It's kind of like the
extremely
best of
nice.
both worlds, man.
It 100% is. We share a window, so like if we make smoothie and we have too much, I'll just be like, "Hey, can you come to the window in 10 seconds? Like I have smoothie." And then it's real nice. It's real nice. Um, yeah.
Okay. Um, I guess I wanted to say like formally how incredible the wedding was, man. Like I
Dude,
didn't
yeah.
expect it to be as amazing as it was. It,
Man,
like,
I had so much fun.
you had so much fun. Okay, can you explain that? Okay, so somebody came up to me right before the whole thing was about to start and said that Muneeb was about to come in on a horse and his hype men were going to be behind him going like, "Whoa, go Muneeb." And I was like, nice one. And then I turn over and you're on a horse and there are 25 hype men. Money, money. Like, what?
I feel like that like kind of came from my grandma. Um, there's a lot of like big personalities at that wedding party, organizing things. Um, one of them my grandmother, one of them my father-in-law. My grandma was like, uh, she like sometimes like tosses around ideas, but my father-in-law is able to make them happen. So one of them was like, yeah, Muneeb should come in on a horse, like in the old Indian days.
That's like old tradition.
I was like old, like back in India, like you have animals and you would come in on like a nice animal. But the neighbor, like literally just like the next like farm over, like it is a horse farm, and we talked with her and hung out
Oh,
with her. So they were like, "Yeah, we'll ask her." And then she came with her horse, and dude, I was petrified because, uh, dude, I don't know, like I was like, this thing is huge. There's a
oh
lot of
my
noise.
God.
This
Massive.
thing is powerful. I was like reading up on the statistics of like horse killing people, and I was like, this is how it's gonna go. Like this is how we're gonna ruin
Never
the
gonna be
party.
married.
Imagine like you walk into the best wedding and then the groom dies.
Oh
Imagine how
my
much,
God.
dude, imagine that car ride back. Like was like, oh, we're still gonna eat. Like, what the heck happens after that? I was like, I cannot die. I don't care if I look like a wuss, but I'm gonna ruin so many people's lives if I die right now. Like I can die at any other point, just not at my wedding. And
Oh
so
man,
I
dude.
was so scared. And then the woman who owned the horse, she was like taking a video of it all. And I was like, lady, like in my mind, I was like, I need you here holding on to this horse because it's getting scared of all these musicians. But one of the musicians, he I guess was a horse guy. And so he was able to like take it around, help me get off. And
Do you remember dismounting
and the turd, yeah.
dude, and then you dismount and you're so stoked. You're just like dancing, everyone's dancing, and you back up and the horse had pooped. And like the entire crowd's like, no, and we all like go to catch you, and you're like, oh, thank God. You know,
That was fun.
that was really
But
fun.
thankfully it was taken care of. But yeah, and then feels like it was such a blur. I'll be honest though, it's nice being on the other side of not being actively getting married because like you can just enjoy weddings now.
What do you
And
mean
eat
by
eat the
that?
food.
Oh, like
Like
I thought you were saying that you had a pressure to get married before. You're just saying like,
no, no, no. Yeah, my family was really chill about everything. It's just like, dude, you can't eat any food because the photographer's on you the whole time. And you're like, I can't imagine being a celebrity. Like,
oh my goodness.
props to like the poor Kanye West has dudes showing up to his house. I could not like be at peace with that.
Imagine being like a Justin Bieber or something where you get fame and you're like 9, you know,
Yeah,
or Michael
yeah,
Jackson or any of those people, and it never turns out very good, you know.
yeah. I mean, I guess Justin Bieber had his like rough times, but props to him.
For the life that he's lived, like the lifestyle that he's had to live,
Yeah,
the amount of shit he's gone through is honestly like honorable, you
I
know.
watched like I watched like one episode. You know who Naomi Osaka is? She's like a tennis player, like
Yes, yes.
the goat, not the goat, but like one of the best right now. And dude, it was showing like all the stuff she has to go through as like she seems like a pretty reserved, like I kind of want to just be on my own person, but
Hmm.
she cannot exist outside in the world without hordes of people.
Real like she's that famous.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the
Oh,
tennis sphere, and like if there's a tournament in town, like she probably won't be able to like go out and eat because then you look like a jerk if like you tell this little kid that you're not going to take a picture with them because you want to eat your smoothie.
yeah, yeah.
So
That is crazy. I remember watching just some YouTube video or something with some, celebrity or whatever, but they were the ones they were making like they're YouTubers, they were making the video and they were like in the middle of filming the bit and then some guy comes up to like ask for a photo and they're like, no, 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 I can't right now. And the guy was so angry, dude, because he deserved that photo with you. And now for the rest of his life, he's gonna be like, fuck those guys, they suck to all of his friends. They're the fucking worst, bro. It's like, Jesus, man. Oh,
yeah, dude, I'm also just not a picture person. Because everyone wants a picture on their phone. Uh, whatever. I don't need to like get all riled up about it again. It's over. But I'm glad it's over.
That's my favorite thing though, is like if you're at anything that's cool, everyone's just, instead of actually like looking, it's like, what are you doing? Who cares? And also
Yeah.
my also favorite thing is when like it's people take uncreative photos of the places they've been as like I took a picture, like they're like at Big Ben and they just took like a shaky blurry photo like this, when it's like you could just look on Google, like it's like
I
that
will
stuff is
say
like
sometimes I do take those pictures like just quick. I just need to show that I'm here so I can like send it to like my grandma or whoever or like my family chat.
mm,
But I'm just like the whole like Instagram reality of gotta get the lighting, gotta make sure the background's clear, gotta get the tripod. Um
it's
it's
not even
pretty wild.
it's not even that, it's just like I'll just see like some mom, like they're like go to, the bean, and they just like have to just, it's like you've been there 4 times, like why are you why why are you doing that, why, and you just went like that too, like you didn't even try, like is your kid even in it, you don't even know, like what?
Is your kid even in it?
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I'm like I took a picture of the Chicago skyline maybe twice the first like couple months I was
Oh
here.
yeah.
And if it's a good sunrise, I'll definitely take it, but now it's there.
My dad always says that the sunrises in Chicago are another level because of all the pollution. Do you concur?
Dude, when California was having their fires, it made some like the smog made some pretty nice sunrises. Um
Isn't it
yeah.
amazing that it can go 2,000 miles?
Yeah. Did you see that like volcano eruption?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I guess they were like feeling like abnormally large waves in Japan or something, which is very far away.
I think there was tsunami warnings in parts of California,
Yeah,
which is like
or like
4,000 miles away, dude. I
yeah.
was researching a little bit, and it said that a tsunami can travel up to 500 miles an hour.
Are you for real?
It can cross the Pacific Ocean, which is like 6,000 miles in a day under regular
That's so
circumstances.
scary.
Yeah. But it's also
That's
scary that a volcano can explode in like, 5,000 miles away. And then you just have a countdown. Like, when it's going to hit, and then everything's going to be gone. But you only have six
yeah,
hours or whatever, 8 hours.
yeah.
Such a long delay.
I was wondering, like, dude, what happened with all those people in those Pacific islands?
Oh,
Like, are they
man.
okay? Like, how? Like, are their islands not submerged? Are they okay?
I was I was reading a thing that said a 300-foot wave can go 11 miles inland on like,
Oh, frick.
yeah, which is like an entire island, right? Unless it's
Let's
really
see.
high above sea level.
That would be like going from Oak Park to Chicago
Oh my
to like the
god.
coastline of Lake
Like if there's a
Michigan.
tsunami in Lake Michigan, it would
Yeah,
take out OPRF. Erwin
yeah.
Lau just gone.
Hate to see it. Dang, but that's huge and scary. Um,
Um, what? So you kept this gratitude journal for, is you still doing it?
dude, I'm embarrassed. I have been slacking big time.
Just not been
Um,
grateful for anything.
dude, not even just the whole journaling thing. Like I honestly like up until the moment I'm going to bed, I'm studying, and then I just
Really?
yeah. But I think the gratitude journal served its purpose. Its purpose was to like instill a habit of seeing things and being grateful for them, and I still have that, but I don't think I need to write it down anymore. I think I'm
Mm,
still capable of like living a life of gratitude without scavenging every piece of it. I feel
gotcha. What would you say was your most common thing that you wrote down in your gratitude journal?
it's like for good runs. Like
Good runs?
it was always like very often related to um like I was like I'm healthy, I am like hitting my miles, I'm with a great team, and now that I'm slowly getting that back, like I see why. It's just everything seems to be okay in life. Like I could be the
Mm.
dumbest medical, like I would still feel okay.
So what is your path with the med school right now? Like what is the next however 5 years, whatever? What does it look like?
So I'm a year and a half in, so I'll have 2.5 more years. So I'm right now studying for my board exam, my first board exam, step one. So I'll take that February 28th. Then I will begin my rotations or my clerkships. Clerkships are where your entire third year, everyone goes to like the same core things. So everyone's got to go to general surgery, see what that's like. Everyone's got to go to has to go to like, I think emergency medicine, family medicine, psychiatry, not emergency medicine, neurology, pediatrics, and then you get like an elective. Um, and then when you're done with that, then you start your fourth year where you start applying. But by the end of your third year, you should know what you're going into. Then you
Mm,
start applying places, and then you hopefully get into a residency. The whole purpose behind residency is to like train you to be a good whatever doctor you are.
okay.
Um, some people see it as like a scam to like get more years out of you or to like put grunt work onto junior doctors, but whatever is true, you do anywhere between 3 to 10 years of work. It's not school necessarily. You're technically the purpose is to learn, but you get paid for it. um, and then you become an attending, which is like you're a real doctor, or you can continue for even more school for a fellowship. So let's say you wanted to be a cardiologist.
Mm-hmm.
You could do your 3 years of internal medicine, and then you could either go become a real doctor where like you're seeing patients on your own independently, or you could do a fellowship where you become in cardiology, where you get even more training specifically in cardiology. So
What is the benefit of getting the more training?
you can't be a cardiologist if you don't get the more training. So you'll
Oh,
probably get more money. If you love cardiology, you love the patients, you love the lifestyle, you can go do that. It's not, I mean, same thing with allergy, endocrinology, certain surgical subspecialties. You like get even more and more and more and more specialized.
what is the average age in which someone likes actually a practicing doctor for the first time?
I don't know. I'm definitely one of the youngest medical students in my class.
Why
Like
would
most,
you
so at least 30.
how, do not most people not go straight out of college?
I think people used to, but um, I think now medical schools are like, it's extremely difficult to get into. If you look at the average MCAT, it's like astronomical. You need not just a good MCAT, you need volunteer, you need a good personal statement, you need letters of recommendation from physicians that know you extremely well. So, and having life experience that comes with work make it a lot easier. And also having money saved up from working makes it a lot easier to do med school. So I think that's why the age is going up. Like several classmates have children. Like
Wow. How did they do
I,
that?
uh, you know, they just prioritize, I guess. And a lot of people have uh, like long-term relationships. Um, there's, I feel like the oldest person, like I have someone I work with regularly. They're 30, and it just is what it is. Yeah, but
Okay,
it's never too late if you decide trying to learn more about runner physiology. Trying to be a doctor.
honestly, man, like I start like researching this stuff. I just want that sink of information. But the idea of committing, like once you commit your entire life, basically, like right? Because you're gonna be 30 and then you haven't even started yet, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
And then you're like, I at least gotta take a decade of this to reap some benefit, you know?
Hmm,
And
hmm.
then you're 40 and you're like, I'm old. I'm like, damn,
Yeah, kind of.
kinda. But it's super fascinating. Like I honestly, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of, like, I can kind of see how the body works, probably from background in running or being hurt or something like that. But and I also have like a very visual mind, so I can kind of see like how this piece goes together and this piece. And whereas a lot of school, I feel like kids treat it as a memorization game, and you get to a point where you're doing something so legit that you can't do that. Because I'm
Yeah.
sure you're like, you could be like, oh, this piece connects to this piece, connects to this piece, connects to your taste bud, and that's why you're sweaty under your knees or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I wish it was. I honestly, I wish it was even that straightforward. Um, there's like a lot of like I'm reviewing the stomach and stuff now. There's so like if you have a severe burn, that could create ulcers in your stomach because the burn causes you to lose water. When you lose water, blood doesn't get to your stomach. When blood doesn't get to your stomach, you lose the protective ability against acid. And then the acid builds up, and then you get an ulcer.
Wow.
And so it's like 5 or 6 steps getting you to this one thing. And I mean, I guess that's why people uh, they can debate over whether they're paying too much, but like that's why people pay for the expertise of a physician.
Is anyone trying to funnel you into a certain career path? Like, is there, like certain, I don't know, like, is anyone kind of guiding your decision of where you go, or is it just completely up to you?
Thankfully, it's completely up to me. Um, there's like certain things I've ruled out for myself, and that Reem and I have talked about, like what I will and won't do. Like surgery is, I mean, at least in this country, it's like obscenely difficult. Not just to get in, but then to complete the surgical residency, you have to be something else. Like you really have to sacrifice a lot. And I don't know if I am willing to like sacrifice that for um
Hmm.
the thrill of being a surgeon or like the intellectual stimulation of being a surgeon or for the salary of being a surgeon. I just don't find it like worth it. So there's things I've ruled out. Emergency medicine I've ruled out for myself. Um, yeah.
Is there any more of an emphasis on like virology or like pandemic preparedness doctors or anything like that since the pandemic started?
I mean, if one thing's clear, it doesn't matter. We have some of the best infectious disease physicians in the country. None of it mattered. None of it mattered because the policy wasn't there, right? Like, if you have the smartest people in the room, but you're not going to listen to them, what use are the smartest people in the room? So, I don't think there's that much stress on it. Um, I certainly like look at public policy as a physician less appealingly because I'm like, no one cares. Like, people will actively fight to be in a worse situation simply because you're sticking it to the libs, or you're, or even like the some of the anti like people get a lot of shot in. I think the word Schadenfreude, like thrill of seeing anti-vaxxers die. It's like,
Yeah,
dang, like that's a little.
it's
uh
crazy, dude.
it's like you could you say that about anything else, and you can justify it this, that, or the other. But like, you're still thrilled that like this person is dying. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think at that point you could admit like it's not like you are angry and um you have something else that's like hurting you.
I mean, I remember
So
like every time, maybe not every time, but a lot of the time you open up, if like you ever just like look at news, one of the articles is like, this person used to not believe in COVID and now they're in the grave. And it's like or there was an article in the Chicago Tribune that was like, should we celebrate people dying from from
okay,
from getting COVID if they're not vaccinated? And the
I
guy,
did not see that. what
dude,
what what was the
he came to
comments of the
he came to the conclusion that although it's maybe immoral, it's kind of justly so. Is what was his conclusion,
Dang.
which is like, whoa, where are we?
Man.
Are you good?
No, that's fine. No,
Okay.
yeah, that is pretty crazy because it's making me think about like I mean, I go to Reddit probably way too much to see like what's happening in the medical sphere. Like people are saying that it's like so dystopian. Like you walk into the hospital, there's not enough blood, there's not enough staff. You're not giving out the medications on time. You're not getting their vitals on time. Like nothing is going right in the hospital. Like the hospital probably is like the most unsafe place to be right now because there's not enough people or resources to take care of you. And they're like everyone's ready to go back to normal. But I'm trying to pull up um like the next COVID like the most recent COVID numbers or like deaths. Like let's see, 1,964 people died yesterday, and like the cases are like I don't know if you can see that graph, but
Oh yeah.
it's
What
up
do
there.
you think about how the cases, I mean, are double, even almost triple what they've ever been, but the deaths are kind of like that? What would you say is the cause of that? Like the deaths are not entirely correlated with the infections.
That's true. That's true. Um, I will not speculate because this is not my area of expertise, and I think too many people that don't know jack about anything run their mouths, and I'm not going to be one of them. So I refuse to answer.
Okay, when you said that the people in the room aren't listening to the smartest people, what are the smartest people saying?
That's good. That's a better way to say it. I think the smartest people maybe are not giving like the most practical things. I think like the CDC said something about like we're going to cancel all like high school games and like the let's see. I think the smartest people are saying like whatever the CDC says, like mask, vaccinate, um, and I think that like there's not. I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on trying to be right rather than getting people vaccinated or getting people to be like masked because now that it is an us versus them thing, uh, I think people are okay with it being an us versus them thing as long as they're on the winning side. But no one wins in an us versus them thing. So I think if I was in charge of everything, let's see, I'd probably pay stupid money to, I don't know, I feel like I'd bribe Trump with an obscene amount of money to, direct his supporters elsewhere to get vaccinated and get masked. If they say like it's gonna own the libs or like it's gonna like beat China, go for it.
How much of
I don't care for right.
how
Yeah,
much
what's
of
up? How much of
a proponent of the vaccine are you? Like, do you see side effects, or what is the pros and cons?
uh I did not listen to that. I listened to part of uh that podcast you sent. It was honestly way too long. I didn't listen to
Sure,
all
yeah,
of
you
it.
got lots of stuff going on.
I think that I think it's fair to I think it's fair to criticize. Here's what I don't think is fair to criticize. I don't think it's fair to criticize the speed with which it came out because it's been worked on for several years. It's just now we've had I because the way that vaccine trials work is like if we wanted to do polio, right? We would give a vaccine that we thought worked and we'd give it to a bunch of kids and see which ones got polio and which ones didn't. The problem and the reason why that would take so long is because it takes like polio isn't like that common and not everyone's going to get it. And it's going to take several years for you to figure out if this kid got polio or not. Right. But with
Mm-hmm.
COVID, it's happening so fast. So you could try a bunch of different interventions and you would know immediately. Because if like 1% of the population is getting COVID, or like, I think it was like 0.1% of the population is getting COVID every single day, then you have so many people to work with and to compare and see what works and what doesn't. So I don't think criticizing the speed at which it comes out is accurate. Worrying about or like what's inside of it, because it's like publicly known what's inside of it. I honestly like probably get like ripped apart for saying this. I'm not like a big proponent of like vaccine mandates. Um, just because like I think the more I see like what um I don't think it's fair to like write off every small government proponent as like a lunatic, because like think about everything that liberals don't like about the government comes from the fact that the government has enough power to do whatever it wants. Police, no one can touch them because they have all the power that they want. Um, like the way that college loans and like how they're like the debt is sold to other people, no one can say anything about it because it's the government is making money off of it and stuff, and there's people in high powers benefiting from it. So I think it's
Mm.
sometimes hypocritical to like call for a vaccine mandate um, while like criticizing like some of the like you want the government to only be good, but I don't think it can either be good or bad. It can be very powerful, very not powerful, and then it's just the luck of the draw with who's in charge.
Do you think that the financial incentives of continuing like of the vaccination at whole, like how much of a play does that have on the government and the corporations push vaccines?
I roll my eyes a little when like Pfizer is is like trying to push out a new like fourth dose or whatever, but also there's like there's lots of money being lost. Like this pandemic has been good for very few people, and I don't think it's been good for enough people for it to be like a giant conspiracy. Um,
Like, I don't know, you say that because I'm pretty sure the Pfizer and Moderna, like their companies, their stock prices have soared and they keep
mhm.
rolling out more and more. And the crazy thing is that there's no repercussions of it. And the startup cost was also paid by the government and they don't need to
Yeah,
advertise it. So it's like they're completely like it's just cash money all the way. So it's kind of like if it could be in good intention, it probably is in good intention, but there's always like if you're getting paid money to do something, you're going to be incentivized to like keep the cash flow in a sort of a way.
and I think that's why like I'm glad the FDA has been kind of like slow to approve every single um like they wouldn't approve boosters for 12-year-olds, they wouldn't approve boosters for healthy people. Like they're slow to do that because there's like a bunch of nerds looking at the data pretty with like a fine-tooth comb. But I think there's like recent news about the FDA being kind of sleazy with like Alzheimer's drug. Like there was this Alzheimer's drug, I'm trying to think, I think it was GlaxoSmithKline that put it out. So like in Alzheimer's, like one of the things that you find is like you get these protein deposits in your brain.
Hmm.
No no one knows if that causes Alzheimer's, but we know that it's there in Alzheimer's. And so this um this co- this company created a like a medicine that would destroy those plaques. And the theory was, okay, you get those plaques in Alzheimer's, let's destroy those plaques, cure Alzheimer's. It's a huge deal. Lots of people get Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not any good medication for it. It's kind of a death sentence. Uh, and everyone was like, okay, like where's the data? They presented the data and it wasn't good because there's a difference between like a biological endpoint and a clinical endpoint, right? So,
Mm.
for example, if everyone in the world took one aspirin every single day, biologically, it would make sense that it's going to prevent blood clots, right? It makes sense. Aspirin prevents blood clots. Everyone should take one every day. we will not have any more blood clots in the world. That's kind of what this Alzheimer's drug company presented. Like, it makes sense. You see it, we see it, we all see it. But then there's the clinical endpoint where just because you're taking an aspirin every single day, you're going to get bleeding side effects. It's not going to work for everyone. Like, healthy people really shouldn't be taking that kind of stuff. And so the a lot of neurologists are like telling the FDA, like, why the hell would you ever approve this? There's no proof that this is going to help anyone. It's just a money-making scam. The price was like $83,000 a year, like $43,000 a year, something obscene. And Medicare was going to be paying for it. So it was kind of ridiculous that like the FDA would just like let some crap drug through. So that goes back to the vaccines. Is like, I like to hope that the FDA is like making sure that what we're giving people will actually work at least. But I mean, who knows?
What is the FDA's incentive to push through drugs that aren't like acceptable, like the Alzheimer's one? Like, do they have money incentive from corporations trying to pass through?
I don't know.
Or?
I don't know if there's any rules about them owning stock, but like, it also might just like, from a scientist perspective, they might have made the call like, we have nothing available for these people. Like, let's just try something. So that might be their logic. Who knows? Like in this specific case with the disease that doesn't have much treatment.
What do you think about the treatments that are out there, like that are non-traditional, like the ivermectin, the monoclonal antibodies thing?
Oh, I don't think the monoclonal antibodies is like, quote, like non-traditional. I did listen to that part of the podcast and I was like, you know, he brings up a good point. Like, I don't know why. Again, maybe this is the case of it makes scientific sense, but it doesn't have good clinical outcomes. The thing about the ivermectin is like, I also think that the left we fell into like this thing of like, we're just going to keep calling it horse dewormer. That is a use of it, but like, it is used against some protozoa, not viruses. So it is used in humans sometimes, but it's just probably not the case here. I don't like, I would be so shocked if it works. So
how do you really tell?
The way you would tell is, first you would have to have biological plausibility. Like, what is the mechanism of action of ivermectin, which I'd probably look up right now. And then you would have to see, like, does it have any like clinical evidence that this has good endpoints for people?
So is that just 100 people tried it and 90% had a good reaction to it, or something like that?
It could be that, but that would be incomplete. You would have to have 100 people take ivermectin, 100 people randomly split up and stuff take. I think it depends on the type of study. You would take like a sugar pill, a placebo, and if 90 people got better with ivermectin, then and 90 people got better with the sugar pill, the ivermectin didn't work, right?
Sure.
So what you could easily do is remove this and say that 90 out of 100 people that took the ivermectin improved. That's correct, but if you gave them nothing, those 90 people would have improved anyways. So like, learning about statistics like shows like you really could like falsify, not even falsify, but like bend the truth so far. Like other things like, again, like the clinical endpoint versus the biological endpoint. Like, technically, yes, this Alzheimer's drug will attack something you find in Alzheimer's, but does it in fact stop people from like getting Alzheimer's? Or like, there was some medication that like extended, it shortened people's hospital stay after surgery from like 4.5 days to 4 days. And everyone's like, what the heck? We're not going to pay like $10,000 to get half a day out of the hospital on average. So stats can be misleading.
Is there an effective Alzheimer's medication, or is it still kind of not really there yet?
It's embarrassing. I haven't studied this. I know there is. I know there's.
Because it seems like, is Alzheimer's an irreversible disease?
It is irreversible, yes.
Why is that?
Because it's like the brain is there's a protein in the brain and it's cut one way. In Alzheimer's, it's cutting it the wrong way. So if you're cutting it the wrong way, then if you're cutting it the wrong way, then you get like the proteins deposited. So let's see, there's donepezil, it's a cholinesterase inhibitor. And that comes from the idea that in Alzheimer's, you have a decrease of this thing called acetylcholine. And then their rationale is like, all right, well, if we increase the acetylcholine, maybe it'll help. And it turns out it did.
And
So
what is the help? Like, is it prolonging life? Is it stopping the worsening? What is it doing exactly?
that is the right question. Because certain drugs have like different endpoints. I don't know what the endpoint is for donepezil. There's a donepezil, rivastigmine, galantamine. All of them are cholesterol. They increase the amount of acetylcholine in the brain. I don't know if the endpoint is like their brain functions better or they die later, because patients might.
Is acetylcholine like something that you could take throughout like youth, like increase those levels of youth? Would that affect later on in life? Or like, is it like a supplement, or is it just something that's produced within the body?
It's produced within the body. So
Is there a
that's
way to make it produced within the body more often, or would that have more repercussions?
I feel like it would have more repercussions because it's used just about everywhere. So like when you like that's what's used to tell your muscles to contract. So it's a pretty common thing. It's not rare.
So like if you had too much acetylcholine, you would have like a seizure, or no?
You would have maybe not a seizure, but something like you would have like
Cramps,
a
calf
neurologic problem.
cramps.
Yeah, I think a type of cramp. I think
Mm.
so. Yeah.
And so back to like I guess Chicago and the vaccine, and how, okay, I saw how they just mandated vaccination for 5 and up for like every
hmm
indoor place.
hmm
What are your thoughts on vaccinating kids that are 5 years old?
I mean, we do it when they're a week old. Um, I think that on the micro scale, it might seem like this is, let's see, on the micro scale, it might seem like this is like ridiculous and unnecessary, that there's not a risk. But in the grand scheme of things, when you put all of the individual people together, you see that it does have a significant benefit. Because like there was the polio vaccine that was taken and it's effectively worked. The tetanus vaccine it's effectively worked. The measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine that's worked. The Haemophilus influenza B vaccine that has worked. The strep pneumo vaccine that's worked. And I think this just is gonna this vaccine just came at like a super polarized time that doesn't taste right in many people's mouths. There's like and you know people like to think that like we live such like natural and pure lives, but almost everything we have or do is unnatural. like anything that occurs in the doctor's office is very unnatural. From the moment you were born, you probably had a vitamin K injection. The reason babies are born, they don't have any bacteria in their stomach. Bacteria make vitamin K. Vitamin K helps stop bleeding. Okay? So when babies are born, they have no bacteria in their stomach. They cannot stop their bleeding. They get brain hemorrhages.
Really?
Option of choosing not to get vitamin K, even though it increases the risk of brain hemorrhages. And parents choose that option because it's more natural. And then the babies die a very natural death, which is their brain hemorrhages. But part of the reason why we have medicine is to stop the natural process of people dying and getting sick.
Is that something that's just like an evolutionary flaw, or is it something in the pregnancy process or the lifestyle, or what
I
would be
think
the
that's inherent to something being a baby,
it's inherent to be a baby?
because
Okay.
you don't experience any, like out in the world we experience bacteria and then it colonizes our gut in a good way. But when you're a couple hours old, there is you haven't had that chance yet.
Do you know what percentage of babies get the vitamin K
Injection.
injection?
Um, let's look that up. Randomly sampled records from babies born at 3 national hospitals found that 96.6% of infants received vitamin K injections.
Wow. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
Huh. I
Let's
never
see.
even knew that.
Yeah. But again, it's like the whole point of what we do is to like stop the natural process of children dying early. I'm trying to figure out how much that actually helps.
What is the research that shows that vaccinating children is effective?
You're talking about specifically the COVID vaccine or all of
COVID
them?
vaccine. Yeah.
I don't know which exact research it is, but it's probably the same way that they found out that vaccinating adults does in fact help. So there's kids that I guess their parents volunteer them to be part of the vaccine trials. And then they take 100
Mhm.
kids, they give them the vaccine, or they give them nothing, and they wait and see who gets COVID and who doesn't. And they don't have to wait too long because COVID spreads so fast that they're able to like see whether or not it actually works on kids, young kids.
So I'm pretty sure like 70, I think like 70 million kids have gotten COVID, but there's only been around like 800 deaths according to
Mm-hmm.
CDC. And that's like way, way, way less compared to every other age group. I mean, because of the
Yeah.
nature of the virus.
Yeah.
But what kind of concern does that bring to it, being that it seems slightly unnecessary given that there's very little deaths? Like, is there proven that just getting COVID is enough reason to try to mitigate it? And does the vaccine have enough efficacy at not getting infections versus not decreasing hospitalizations?
Yeah. Again, that goes back to like, what are we actually measuring? Are we measuring hospitalizations? Are we measuring infections? I think one reason why people don't want to mess with the virus or just like try it out, it's like one, because of long COVID. Um, Even if you don't die, if you get really close to it and you get like acute respiratory distress syndrome, like where your lungs get really,
Mm-hmm.
they're filled with fluid and protein, that has like really long lasting impacts. Um, I don't know how long, but, or I think it was, or like what percent, I think it was, I was taking a quiz, and it was like 70% of people that get ARDS have like some sort of long-term sequelae or some long-term problems.
Wow.
So
And do you know the
I think that
percentage that develop long COVID?
there were the article I was reading had like a lot of numbers thrown around, like anywhere between like 5 to 25%, but
Wow.
who knows?
Okay.
Um, yeah, And I think in terms of like why don't we let kids just get it and then they'll be fine? I don't know why. Um, Maybe it comes from the idea like we don't want to risk it.
Mm,
That the risk presented by the vaccines, because it's not zero. Like we don't need to pretend like it's not zero. The risk presented by the vaccines isn't it is less than the risk presented by one, knowing you get COVID, and two, who knows what comes after. Because there's a lot of diseases that the virus comes in you, and the problems don't occur until much later. That's kind of how HIV is. HIV can like incubate for a really long time. When you get strep throat, it's like a 2 or 3 week delay. Then it screws up your kidneys and it screws up your heart. So you can get, Coxsackie virus.
really?
Yeah. So like the
Oh,
classic case is like kid gets a fever, strep throat, they feel fine. A couple weeks later, they having heart problems. You know, the bacteria spread to their heart. Coxsackie virus can screw up your heart. Uh, there's a bug called that causes this thing called Chagas disease. Trypanosomonas cruzi can screw up your heart and your esophagus. Like these things don't always like they're living things, so there's no reason why they have to attack immediately. They might just sit in your body for a little bit. Also, I will say my headphones are dying, so
okay.
might need to head out soon.
Yeah, no, that works, man.
Cool.
Well, I guess one last thing. Um, when we were walking walking to Chicago and back,
Yeah.
and you had to call it quits.
Yeah, I did.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you spent the last half mile with me on the phone. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
Right.
dude. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for coming out. I'll talk
Yeah,
to you
thank you so
again
much
soon,
for
man.
texting me. Yep, we'll see you
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Take care, Tim.